Greetings on behalf of the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's truly a pleasure to be here and to share with you perspectives. And I'm sure through your questions and comments, we'll leave this room with something to carry with us. It's great to be back at the Center for Strategic Studies. This is not my first time here, and it's always a pleasure to be here. Special thanks to you, Ambassador Bellamy, to see you, to come here and to see you in your new position. I think we have crossed paths in the past. And speaking of partnership, which I'll come back to, and I think I worked with you in partnership in the past that led actually to what became the Tripartite Plus, which was a framework to finding a peaceful solution to the conflict in the Great Lakes region in Africa. I decided, since my colleague here has a greater knowledge of regional groups in Africa, I'm sure he will get more into details and he will give you much more seasoned information. So I decided to just give a very short background of US-Africa relations, and then talk a little bit about the current US policy towards Africa, and then I'll end with my own experience as the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to Washington, and talk a little bit about the partnership, whatever that is. What does partnership with the US means for us Africans? To answer the question, I'm going to get a little bit into the history of our relations. US-Africa relations are about 50 years old. US-Africa policies have evolved over the years. One might think that because the United States of America was not party to the Berlin Conference that carved the continent of Africa, they will take a totally different approach from that of the European colonial powers, which was based on exporting European values and their ways of doing things to Africa, without taking into account the core values and needs of the Africans themselves. The US thought to rely heavily on Europe to better understand Africa, and the Africans, rather than tailoring its own policy framework, free of European past, by engaging directly with the continent. Even in the development areas, both in public and private sectors, it used to be my way or no way. Development assistance has been tied to one-party formulations, priorities, and institutions. Institutions like the World Bank or the IMF conditioned their aid on structural adjustment and other private sector strategies that did not adapt to Africa's needs or realities. As a result, Africa bore alone the consequences of those failed policies. It was a lost opportunity in US post-independence Africa. This was a setback for Africans who considered then the United States as a neutral party who could shape relations between Africa and the West. But over the years, there have been a paradigm shift in US-Africa relations. We no longer live in a bipolar, ideologically driven world. On one hand, African countries who have fought under the Organization of African Unity to rid the continent of the vestiges of colonization and apartheid, and in their quest for unity, economic and social development have taken a number of bold initiatives, and in the process made substantial progress that paved the way to the establishment of the African Union today. The aim is to accelerate the process of regional integration in the continent in order to enable it play its rightful role in the global economy while addressing an array of social, economic, and political problems that come with globalization. To tackle these issues, the African Union, in accordance with member states, adopted a set of values they share with the global community in order to achieve sustainable development, peace and security, strong democratic institutions, and good governance. The vision of the African Union is that of building a partnership between governments and all segments of civil society, in particular women, the youth, and the private sector, in order to strengthen solidarity and cohesion among African countries and the people of Africa. These bold initiatives face global challenges such as terrorism, pandemics such as HIV/AIDS, the bird flu, drugs and human trafficking, maritime piracy, climate change, and so on. And all these challenges threaten peace and security, whether it's national security or international security. Today, Africa has made headways. We have the great majority of African countries the leaders are elected through a democratic process. Thanks to the opportunity Africa presents today, and despite remaining challenges, the United States wants to reinforce its role as an important stakeholder in the success and security of the continent. Hence, the importance of working together has been constantly emphasized by the United States government. In Secretary Clinton's word, solving these challenges cannot be the work of individuals or individual nations. They require communities of nations and people working together in alliances, partnerships, and institutions like the African Union, end quote. A number of US initiatives from previous and current US administration are a testimony to these efforts. Today, we have AGOA, which encourages trade between Africa and the United States, and with emphasis on exports from Africa to the United States. We have the MCC. The MCC also encourages African countries to come up with their own projects, and they receive a grant once the project is approved. We have PEPFAR to fight pandemics such as AIDS. We have the Global Health Initiatives. We have the Feed the Future initiative to fight food insecurity. We have AFRICOM, who has been working with individual countries in the area of security. And we have the Africa Partnership Station for maritime security. There are many other initiatives that have been created on the aftermath of September 9/11 to deal with counterterrorism. What is new in many of these programs is that they are country-led, most of them, and they are implemented in close collaboration with African governments. What Africa needs in her partnership with the US is capacity building in order to strengthen its democratic institutions, implement reforms in areas of security, judiciary, and good governance. This is a multifaceted kind of partnership in the face of so many national and transnational challenges. This requires an upscale coordination efforts, and because of its complexity and what it takes financially to tackle these issues, it requires working closely together. Today, Africa is basically the new frontier. We have other countries who have not been traditionally Africa's partners, who are very much interested in Africa, emerging powers such as India and China, and US, who would like to see US to be even more aggressive in strengthening that partnership with Africa. Economic growth has been steady in many African countries, and Africa intends to maximize its share of this collaboration with international partners such as the United States. As far as my own country is concerned, I've seen this partnership evolve from relations that were not easy when I came to Washington to collaboration, to working together on a regular basis. That kind of collaboration with, of course, the international community, particularly the United Nations, where the United States played a very important role in ending the war in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We worked very closely with everybody, with all the rebels, with the government, with civil society, and this led to the negotiations that took place in South Africa, and those negotiations led to the government of transition in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I remember that basically the ambassador of the United States during that time moved to South Africa, and he was in South Africa during almost the entire time of those negotiations, accompanying the process. This was one of the most positive collaboration between the United States and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And the United States is still involved in ensuring that the institutions in the DRC are strengthened, in ensuring that good governance is implemented. So we are still in that process that is accompanying us toward strengthening our institutions. Today, we have also collaborated with the United States, with the AFRICOM, and the United States. We have just had the first battalion that graduated last year, actually, and it was formed by the United States. We are also, since we're still dealing with skirmishes of armed groups in the eastern part of the Congo. In the northeast, we still have the LRA that still cross borders between Uganda, Central African Republic, Southern Sudan, and the DRC. The United States is also involved in that effort, providing logistic and other capacity building training to our troops and police to tackle the LRA. In the eastern part of the DRC, where we still deal with remnants of the Rwandan militia and other armed groups in the eastern part of the DRC, we have had also close collaboration, especially in the area of civilian-military relations, but also in the area of military judiciary, where we have been working in close collaboration with the United States, but also in the area of this issue of gender-based violence. What are the challenges? The challenges remain many. Since this partnership does not limit between the United States and Africa alone, or the United States and the DRC alone, there is also a collaboration at the regional level, but also with the United Nations, with the European Union, and so forth. So that makes quite a very, very complex type of partnership, and sometimes it doesn't produce the best result possible if there is not a strong coordination. And also, if the country is not proactive in terms of coming up with its own vision and submit it to all these different partners, then this partnership finds itself in a rather shaky mood. So it's still, I would say, the notion of the partnership where there is a win-win situation between the entities involved is still a process. At least what we've seen, we don't see a situation anymore where somebody will come with issues and ideas and say, okay, this is what you have to do, it's one size fits all. But today we have a situation where everything is tailored according to the circumstances, according to the realities on the ground, and there is that effort to seek, at least to understand what's going on the ground, and through that kind of collaboration, come up with a compromise between the two entities. Thank you, Ambassador Bellamy, and I'll be more than happy to hear to answer questions or to hear comments.